Hello folks, today I'm looking at the latest microphone in Rode's Video Mic series, the Video Mic NTG. This is a battery-powered microphone, and like the rest of the Video Mic series, it seems primarily designed to be mounted on a camera and connected directly into the camera's 3.5mm mic input. It can also be used with mobile devices that use a TRRS input without having to buy any extra adapters. But the main standout feature of this microphone is the fact that it can also be used as a USB interface microphone, so it can be connected directly to a computer via USB port. This makes it very versatile, and it could potentially take the place of two mics for some people. So I decided to get one, take a look and a listen, and see what's what. And what you're looking at here is everything that comes in the package. It comes with a foam windscreen, a USB-C to USB Type-A cable, and a pretty nice shock mount that can be mounted either directly to a camera via the shoe mount, and it also is threaded 3/8/16 so that you could mount it on a boom arm or potentially a tripod or something like that for when you want to use this as a USB microphone. The microphone itself is a little bit more of a traditional shotgun microphone style than some of their other video mics, but it's still very short, very compact. And just for a quick size comparison, here is the Rode Video Micro, and here's a Sennheiser MKE 600. So just to kind of give you an idea of the size. Now the operation of this microphone is fairly simple, but it does have quite a few features. It is designed so that when it's connected to a camera, it will automatically turn on when you turn the camera on, and it'll automatically turn back off when you turn the camera off. But one thing you should know is that it uses plug-in power on the camera's mic jack to turn on and off. So if you happen to have a camera that doesn't provide plug-in power on the mic jack, then you'll have to turn this camera on and off manually. But the good news is you can turn it on and off easily. This little power button here, just press and hold that for a couple seconds, and the little green light comes on, and now the microphone is on. This microphone also has a 75 Hz and 150 Hz high-pass filters. And to turn those on and cycle between them, you just press this button here. So if I press it once, we got 75 Hz. Press it again, now we have 150 Hz high-pass filter. Press it again, and they both turn back off. It also has a high-frequency boost setting to kind of give you a bit more clarity and a bit more highs. And to turn that on and off, you just press and hold this button for a few seconds, and then that turns it on or back off. Now instead of pressing and holding this button, if you just press it and release it, that will cycle on and off the 20 dB pad and the safety track recording, or both on or both back off. This third little light here is just a clipping light, and that will just light up red if the microphone detects any clipping. Now the way the safety track recording works is that it records two separate tracks, one at whatever the gain setting you have dialed in, and another one at a much lower gain, so that if you have an unexpected loud sound during recording and it clips, you have a second track recorded at a lower volume so that you can bring part of that into your recording and potentially save the audio. But since this is just providing a stereo out to the camera, you only have two tracks. You have left and right audio. So the way it works when you have that safety track on is it's actually recording the left and right channels at different volumes. So just be aware, if you want to have that on, just to be safe, just so that you have that backup just in case, you will definitely have to do some post work even if you don't accidentally clip, because otherwise the left and right channels are going to be drastically different volumes. So you're going to have to go in and separately use one of those tracks to make it the full audio track. So just keep in mind, if you're planning on just using the audio straight out of the camera without doing any kind of post work at all, you're not going to want to have that safety track recording on, because otherwise you'd have two drastically different volumes between the left and right sides. And at the bottom of the microphone here, we have a gain knob which adjusts the gain of the 3.5mm output. So when you're connected directly to a camera, this is going to adjust your gain, and when you're using it as a USB microphone, this will adjust your headphone volume if you have headphones plugged into the 3.5mm jack. And then on the side, we just have a USB-C port there for connecting to the computer and for charging. And as I mentioned before, this can be used with mobile devices that use a TRRS connection, because it does come with a TRRS cable, but the microphone will automatically detect if you have it plugged into a standard TRS device and it will automatically adjust and work properly either way. All right, so let's get testing it and see how it sounds. I'm going to not only put this on a camera, go out and about, and just see what kind of audio I get there. I'm also going to connect it up in my studio here via USB, and actually also maybe directly to my interface, and just kind of do some comparisons and see how it sounds in here in my studio. So let's get started. Okay, so now I've got the microphone plugged directly into my computer via USB, and I'm recording into Reaper. The microphone is in the flat mode, so meaning all of the settings are turned off in terms of the filters and boosts. And I have my headphones plugged into the monitoring jack. And the volume knob on the back works great for adjusting the headphone volume. The headphone output actually gives plenty of volume for monitoring, even in my 300 ohm headphones. And even when listening to music, for my personal preferences, it gives plenty enough volume for music, even on my 300 ohm headphones. I know some people like music louder than I do, so you may find it doesn't go quite loud enough if you have high impedance headphones like that. But for me, it goes plenty loud enough, plenty of volume output on that headphone jack. I did have a very slight trouble with that jack, though. I found that when I first plugged the headphones in, I got just a really strange, garbled, digitally sound that was just terrible. And I unplugged them, plugged them back in, and then it was fine. But then when I went to switch to other headphones, when I plugged those in, the exact same thing happened. Again, it was as simple as unplugging it, plugging back in, and then it was perfect. But just be aware you may run into something like that. I have a feeling it has to do with the automatic switchover from TRRS to TRS, but I can't say for sure. But like I said, both times I just unplugged it, plugged it back in, and then it was fine. I do have the included foam windscreen on there right now. And I know Rode will be releasing, if they haven't already, a furry windscreen specifically for this microphone. But just note, as far as the diameter is concerned, this is a furry windscreen I have for my Sennheiser MKE600, and it fits just fine. Now, it's longer than it needs to be, but at least in terms of diameter, it fits just fine. So me personally, I wouldn't buy a specific one for this. I would just use this one. So, if you do get this microphone and you want a furry windscreen, certainly nothing wrong with getting the one specifically for it. It's going to be the right length and all that. But if you find a deal on something like this, or if you already have one, at least as far as diameter, this is going to be the same as something like an MKE 600 or a Rode NTG 1, 2, 3, so on. Now, right now I have this microphone on my Rode PSA 1 boom arm, and with the included mount, it just connects right up to the boom arm, no problems, no adapter needed. But be aware, this microphone is very, very lightweight, which is great for when it's mounted on a camera, but it was not enough weight to keep my boom arm down. So right now I actually have something sitting on top of the arm to give it ballast to keep it down, because without that, it would just keep wanting to drift up, because this microphone is actually not heavy enough to keep the boom arm down. So just something to be aware of that you might run into. So this is how it sounds in essentially the flat mode. None of the settings are on, but now I'm going to go ahead and cycle through the various high-pass filters and the high boost and see how those compare. Okay, so now I have the 75 Hertz high-pass filter on, so the microphone is going to pass all frequencies above 75 Hertz, and anything under that, it's going to kind of roll off. So I can hear a slight difference in my monitors. I don't know how much you can hear the difference coming through in the recording, but the difference is fairly subtle in my voice. I can tell that it's cutting out a little bit of the very deepest parts of my voice, but it's not a drastic change. So this setting could be pretty helpful for cutting out some background rumble, some wind noise, something like that, without drastically affecting the sound of voices and other things. So now I have the 150 Hertz high-pass filter on, and that one's definitely changing the sound of my voice a little bit. But there may be situations where that slight change in the tone of a voice or something might be acceptable to you if you're just really trying to cut out a lot of background noise or just a lot of unwanted rumble or something like that. But either way, this is how it sounds. Now I have the high-pass filters turned off, so I'm not cutting out the lows anymore, but I actually have the high-frequency boost turned on. So I haven't seen any chart to see at what frequency that starts to kick in or how much it boosts the highs. But once again, in my monitors, I can definitely hear a difference. It's definitely creating some crispness and, just some airiness in the upper frequencies. So once again, in certain situations, this may be just exactly what you're looking for. And either way, this microphone has it if you're just wanting to get just that little bit of extra clarity up top. So again, this is what it sounds like with the high frequency boost turned on. And once again, for comparison, now we're back to all those settings turned off, just back to just pure flat mode. So there you go, Rode Video Mic NTG working as a USB microphone. And from what I can tell so far, it has a good clean sound and could work great for you if you wanted a USB microphone for recording some audio in your house or studio or whatever. Well, I think this is a very viable use for this microphone. I think more people that would get this microphone are going to be using it for connecting to a camera. So let's go get this mounted up to a camera and see how it does. All right, so now I'm out here at the park. I've got the Rode Video Mic NTG on top of my camera with the included foam windscreen on the microphone. And instead of standing in front of the camera, I'm standing behind it. I have the microphone pointed at me, so the microphone is pointed behind the camera. And I'm about maybe 12 to 18 inches away from the microphone. It's not super windy, but there is a breeze right now. I don't know how that foam windscreen is handling the breeze, but just based on the volume meters, or not the volume meters, the sound meter on the camera, I think it might be picking up that wind just a little bit. But here in a minute, I will switch to my furry windscreen and see how much that makes a difference. The microphone is also basically in the flat mode right now. I don't have the high pass filters or the high frequency boost turned on. And like I said, this is how it sounds. There is some traffic noise today from the bridge that you can see there, but not a whole lot. Traffic is actually pretty light today. And the microphone is pointing away from the bridge, so you may not really be picking very much of that up. I have the input on my camera turned almost all the way down, and I have the gain on the microphone set at 8 currently. Now I've switched to the furry windscreen. How much difference does that make, if any? Is that blocking the wind any better than the included foam windscreen? Just based on the level meters, once again, I would say it is blocking the wind far better, but we'll see how it sounds once I go back and listen to it. All right, now I've switched back to the foam windscreen, and I'm going to turn on first the 75 and then the 150 hertz high pass filters, see if that makes any difference, helps the wind noise at all, and just see in general how it affects the sound. And actually the wind has died down just a little bit here, so there's probably going to be less wind noise regardless. Okay, now I have the 75 hertz high pass filter on, so any frequencies below 75 hertz should be rolled off just a bit. And how does that sound? Can you hear the distant traffic noise any less? Can you hear the wind less? How does that affect the sound? All right, now we seem to have almost a complete calm, so maybe the wind will come back here in a minute so we can tell a difference. But now I have the 150 hertz high pass filter turned on, so how does that sound? Does that make a big difference? Does that cut out even more of the traffic noise? Although at this distance, I think that traffic noise, it might not be the frequency that's going to cut out, but we'll see how much difference it does make. And again, this setting probably would help a little bit with the wind noise, but the wind is almost completely stopped here. And there's a plane flying overhead, so you might be picking that up. But now I have both of the high pass filters turned off, and I have the high frequency boost turned on. And again, playing in the background. Oh, and here comes the wind. Wind's picking back up, so maybe you're hearing that as well. So a lot of background noises right now. Although the plane is kind of behind the microphone, so maybe that's not getting picked up so much, but it is kind of loud. He's moving away now, so maybe that's getting a little quieter. All right, that plane's moving off a little bit. I still have the high frequency boost turned on, but now the wind's picking back up a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the 150 hertz high pass filter on and see if that helps with the wind. Okay, so now I have the 150 hertz high pass filter on, but I still have the high frequency boost turned on. The wind's kind of variable right now, so you may or may not be hearing it, but there is a little bit of wind now. It's picked back up just a little bit. So there you go, just a little bit of a sample of what you can expect out of this microphone with the different modes turned on. Just out here on a little bit of a breezy day, not a ton of noise around, but just a little bit of wind. And finally, for comparison, just back to all the modes off, so we're just back to flat mode. Wind's still pretty far died down. There's still a little bit of a breeze going on, but not too bad. But, you know, again, still just the foam windscreen on there, so, you know, I don't know how well that's blocking it out. Okay, and now just as a point of comparison, I actually have a different microphone on the camera. I have the Rode Video Micro on the camera. This is a far less expensive microphone, and it's a very simple microphone. It's a passive microphone. You just plug it into the camera. It's powered off of the camera's plug-in power, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about batteries or anything like that, and it's far less expensive. So if you like the sound of it, it could definitely be a very viable option. But keep in mind there are some definite disadvantages. First of all, it is powered off of plug-in power. So while the Rode Video Mic NTG will not automatically turn on and off if the camera does not have plug-in power, the Rode Video Micro will not work at all if the camera does not supply plug-in power to the microphone. Also, if you have a camera that has weak preamps or noisy preamps, you're a little bit more likely to get that in the recording than you would with the Video Mic NTG, because that's a powered microphone. It has its own clean gain built into it, whereas the Rode Video Micro is relying completely on the camera's preamps. But it's smaller, it's lighter, it's far cheaper, and it's pretty simple. No need to worry about batteries or anything like that. So here's the sound of it. If you like the sound and your camera has plug-in power and decent preamps, it could be a great option for you. So that's how that sounds. Just wanted to give you that little point of comparison. Alright, now I'm back to the Rode Video Mic NTG, and I have the furry windscreen back on it again because the wind's picking up a little bit more once again. For me, I think it represents a pretty decent value. It's got that variable gain knob, so you can get the gain dialed in just exactly where you want it. It's got a good clean neutral sound, but then it also has EQ options, so you can kind of tweak it to your likings. You can roll off some of the lows to kind of eliminate some background noise, or you can boost the highs to get a little bit more clarity. It has decent battery life with the built-in rechargeable battery, but it also has that automatic on-off power on and off feature when you turn the camera on and off. And I think just in general, as an on-camera microphone, I think it can work out pretty great. But on top of that, you also have the ability to use it as a USB microphone for a, sit down in front of a computer kind of recording situation, which there again offers some excellent versatility. But having said all of that, I still think that for a lot of people, something like the Rode Video Micro is probably going to be good enough for them. I think that has some pretty decent audio to it. It's a little bit more convenient to use because you don't need batteries. It's smaller, it's lighter. It does come with a furry windscreen so that you don't have to purchase anything extra if you're going to want to deal with a little bit of heavier wind. And obviously that's just one of the other options that are out there, but and not to take away anything from the Video Mic NTG. Again, I think it's a great microphone with a lot of versatility and excellent value, and I think it's just going to be perfect for a lot of people. But I also think that even though it's, the shiny new thing out there, that doesn't mean there aren't already a lot of great options out there. It just depends on what you actually need. And for somebody that's not going to need or perhaps not even use the extra features that it offers, there's definitely some cheaper options out there. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you got something out of that. If you have any questions, just go ahead and post those up down below. As always, thank you very much for watching. Take care.